So the author talks about mailing out technical reports and environmental documents. These days, pretty much you just use email. And for decision makers, you might put like a cloud storage, something like Box, in where people can access the documents that they need before they're like open to the public. However, as a staff planner, you might also print reports and add them to the library, as we discussed before. As a planner, I have done that for important documents. As a matter of fact, there are some documents in some, like for example in California, you do have to put the environmental impact statement that you create for any report in the library repository. So that has to be available not only through your website, but that people can actually find it in the library. So you have to check what will be the local guidelines or practices where you live or work. If you need to reach the general public, you might need to prepare a publication and mail it directly to people's homes. I have used personally mass mailing for postcards in particular, because again, printing things is very expensive and even mailing them is very expensive. But if you put like a postcard and it's like an attractive, nice postcard with the website where you can find the documentation that they need, then that is like very useful. The one caution that the author expressed with the mass mailing is just to make sure that your mass mailing doesn't look too slick or expensive. So remember that everything that you do is like with taxpayer dollars. So make sure that doesn't seem like you're throwing money away. Organizations frequently publish and distribute periodic newsletters during participation programs. So newsletters are an effective way of keeping people who are the most interested in the decision-making process informed at a level of detail that could never be achieved through like social media, or if it was like something random. So basically they are just giving you their email and you are contacting directly with updates. That's why in the Reimagine project, there's the question of like, would you like to receive updates through the newsletter? So newsletters are a means of sustaining that interest throughout a decision-making process, which might take months or even years. The document, they actually, could be, the documents are put in there, could be used to just send very helpful information for the public of how they can get engaged or major points in the decision making. And a lot of the newsletters that you send can also be used or recycled for press kits. Then you can also organize panels, discussions. So just kind of put together a talk, and there will be like different experts to talk on a specific subject matter, and then you will have a discussion from the public, and you will have a moderator. So this is a way of like just discussing a topic and make it a lecture, or in this case a panel, available to the general public. Most of the time I have seen these among planners, so it's like the American Planning Association might put something together, even the local chapter, but there's no reason that this could be something done that is like sponsored by the city, in where they put planners together, or even ask the members of the public. It's open to members of the public to discuss particular issues. One effective way to communicate with influential people in the community is to arrange presentations with like civic groups, business association meetings, homeowners meetings, and so on. So just kind of have your regular small group meeting discussion. It can be very powerful, especially with underrepresented groups that are unlikely to go to these like different community meetings. But however, I have seen this more often with community councils. If you go to community councils, they already have a lot of access to government, which is also one of the reasons that you are going to brief. the community councils, or just give a presentation of like what's happening. What way to inform the community, or at least part of the community that is highly interested in an issue, is to invite them to attend a symposium on a particular subject. So a symposium is a meeting designed primarily to inform participants without asking attendees to take a position on the topics under discussion. So a symposium, it will be really a collection of different panel discussions, or maybe it's like a small group facilitated discussions. There will definitely be a period of answer and questions, and they could possibly have a discussion of small groups. Maybe at the end, a white paper is like created with the comments that people brought up, and somehow it's like incorporated into the planning documents. One major consideration in paying for advertising, which is another strategy that you could use, is how the public react to the expenditure of funds by your organization for these like kinds of purposes. So the public is normally quite appreciative of paid advertisements announcing public meetings, particularly if they're visually attractive, especially if they're in TV. They have to be very attractive, or provide information that people need to participate in the decision making process. But I would highly recommend you to find, instead of like paid advertisements, things that are free. But again, if you have the budget, you can certainly do that, especially if it's a very important project. So then you have like news conferences and media briefings that are another way to stimulate the interest of the media in doing featured news stories. Media briefings are very different than staff briefings, like the ones that we discussed with the City Council or the Planning Commission. This will be also done in City Hall, so the media will be invited to hear, for example, from the latest approved master plan. For open space, or maybe for housing. This is reserved for plans or issues that are of broad interest, and therefore of media interest. Basically, you invite different people that work for newspapers or TV stations, and then there will be like anywhere from 2 to 6 different reporters there. And then you will have like the mayor, maybe the director of the department, and the senior staff assigned to that project to give some sound bites. And these are often short, so it could be like anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes of a briefing, media briefing. One way to reach a whole community with the same information is to prepare the information in a packet, in a form that is a newspaper insert. So as long as the insert is like prepared to the newspaper specifications, so the cost can be like moderate to do this. This one will reach the people who are publishing newspapers, but it will probably also reach as an audience those who buy newspapers, which tend to be more middle class, or people that are like more involved in politics already. But it's a good opportunity to be the public being informed through this like medium. It can also generate a lot of interest in a hurry from a large number of people. So just like newsletters, the most attractive the insert is, that is easier to read, the more impact that it will have in the community. So I will highly recommend you to actually find places that are free to do just some kind of like announcements. So there's many places that will allow you to do this if you are a government agency or a community group or a charity. They might charge businesses, but they might not charge these like non-profit entities, including governments. So this is called more like a public service announcements. where you can give announcements about your meetings, events, and other opportunities for the public to be engaged and participate. So, for example, QER FM is owned by the University of Utah, and it's like free to talk about these kinds of issues, even if having a whole segment in where there would be like an interview, and then you will tell the public in more depth. That's kind of different from the public announcement, but there's a lot of free opportunities that you should definitely take on in the radio and in the news. And you can find a list from the press and send an email saying that you're interested, and because this is again something that most people will be interested, because if it's a master plan that impacts the whole city, they most likely will give you a segment or do the public announcement. You can also write news releases with the most